brushes and paints that we're going to be using today to do this lesson. We're working with a variety of colors. We have lamp black. We're using white, or you can use titanium white. Either one I like from Elbrit. It seems to flow a little smoother than titanium white. We also have lemon yellow that we're using, just a little bit of this. Then we're going to use some Viridian green. And we have ultramarine that we're going to be using. It's blue. And also we're going to use Prussian blue. We use the two of those. This is a little more reddish tone, and this one here is just a little on the greenish side. And then we're going to use, for the rocks that we're going to be putting in, burnt umber. So those are the colors that we'll be using. And the brushes, this here is about a 3-inch pure bristle brush. You can paint this with oil paints, which these are all oils, with pure bristle brush. This is about a 3-inch, and I have a smaller one, which is probably about 1.5 inches. These are both for smoothing out areas that we'll be working with today. This here is just an 1-inch brush. This is just to lay down some of the paint on the canvas itself. Then I go with about a 1/2 inch flat, about a 1/4 inch flat, and then a real small, probably about 1/8 of an inch flat brush. We'll be using those for details. Now the rest of these, this one here is a liner brush. Now if you can see this, the bristles that are on here are real long and small. The reason for that is it'll load up a lot of paint. It's good for making fine lines. Today, instead of fine lines, we're going to be taking it and actually painting it sideways. Sounds weird, but it works very well. The other brush that we're going to be using is brushes I call rat brushes. And what they are, like here's a small one. The rat brushes is a regular brush, but I've taken a razor blade and I've just chopped it all up so that it's kind of ratty looking up on top. It's not a nice square like this used to be, a square brush here. I've just chopped it up so it's, all the bristles are frayed out. There's a reason for that. You'll be seeing that later on in the lesson. We have a small one here, and then I have a bigger one. You can probably see how chopped up this is a little bit better. It's the same thing. Just take a razor blade and just randomly chop it up. And the other brush we're going to be using today is a fan brush, which mostly, we'll be using that just mostly for really painting. It's going to be more of a just pulling paint that's already laid down into a fan-like effect. And then of course we have our knife here to mix up the paint with. Other than that, all we need is a jar for our mineral spirits, a jar for our medium we're going to use, and some liquid. Now, the medium that you're going to use, you can buy medium in a store, and you can use that if you want to. It has a tendency to dry a little slower, and that's okay, because we're going to be doing this in a 2-day period. Or what I prefer is I have a medium that I use all for myself. It dries a little quicker, and it has a really nice consistency to it. The formula itself is 1 part Dharma varnish with 1 part linseed oil, 2 parts mineral spirits or paint thinner, and just a few drops of the cobalt dryer. You only need a couple of drops because it dries really quick. So just a few drops in all of that, and that mixes up very well. It has a very nice consistency to it. So these are the tools that we're going to be using today, and let's get to painting. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is start laying down the paint onto the palette here. We'll start with the ultramarine. Here. The next color we'll grab is Prussian blue. And grab your Viridian green. that next to that. Next color we're going to grab is lemon yellow. Grab some lamp black. Put that over in this spot over here. We'll use that at certain points. And then some burnt umber for our rocks. Put that over. And I grab your white, again, either a titanium or permelda. Center here, and put a little bit over here in the blue area, just because we're going to be lightening up these colors rather than mixing it like that. Start up here. Just grab a little bit of your blue. Make sure you have a really good consistency. You don't have a light spot and a dark spot. You want it all at the same time. More of that. This color we're going to use most of it. We're going to be using this. A little bit of this. I'm going to be putting in some Prussian blue as well. Okay, now we're going to grab some of our Prussian blue. And we'll mix some of that up. You only need a little bit of Prussian blue. See how strong that is? Just a little bit of that Prussian blue. Now grab a little bit of our blacks. We don't want these colors that bright in this area. We want this a little muted out. A little bit of that lamp black. So we have a nice color going there. Okay. Now we're going to grab some Viridian. Mix up the color on there. You can just keep mixing it up until you get a nice consistency all the way through that. A little bit more. Mix up some yellow here. You don't need too much of that yellow. We're just going to use this just to lighten up a little bit. We're not really going to use a lot of this yellow. We're just going to mix it in with parts of the green there to give it a nice glow and a wave breaking. Okay, and the last color we'll mix up is for rocks. The rocks here, mix up some of this brown. One thing that I like to do with these here is to keep everything so that it looks nice and smooth, is I'll mix a little bit, like this color right here, the Prussian blue. I generally call it my mother color, which is kind of like You know, in the old mines they had the mother lode, everything came from that. This, when I do a painting, I usually stick with one basic color, whatever it is, if it's yellows or oranges, whatever the color is. And I'll stick with the one color, and no matter what colors I put in, there's always a little bit of that I mix in with it. And what that does is it keeps everything nice and uniform, and it looks a lot more realistic that way. So we're going to use this mother color right here, this Prussian blue that we mixed up. We're going to put a little bit of this color into the brown. Now, when you're looking at it, it looks like it's going to be taking away the brown color. But once you start putting this paint down next to that, all of a sudden, see how brown it looks, even though it looks different over here. Just to get a little bit of that harshness. Otherwise, your paintings start looking phony if the colors are all vibrant and bright throughout the painting. This kind of makes it a little bit more uniform. And I'll do the same thing even with the green over here. Just a little bit of that. Keeps everything in the same range. Start seeing how now I see how the colors are all like they go with each other, even though they're still totally different. We'll do the same thing here. A little bit of this. Now to start with our background, we're going to take, first thing we're going to be doing is let's take a big chunk of this. Actually, let's grab a little bit more white. But this is going to be our background. We're going to put in kind of on a grayish tone. And the reason you want to do that is the gray part, anything that's in the distance, you want to keep in grays. That keeps everything more toward the distance part. The grayer it is in the background and the more color you have up front gives you a lot more depth in your painting. So we're going to start off and just mix a little bit of gray here. I'm going to throw in a little bit again of that same color, what I call my mother color. In this case it's going to be this Prussian blue. I'll throw just a little bit in there, again, just to tie it all off. A little bit of that blue. Grab some more white, we're going to make different shades of that here. Another shade up. Okay. Hi, okay. We're back, we're ready to paint. We're going to start off with our grays. We're going to lay in the backgrounds with grays and work our way down to blue and then start filling in the detail. Just before I do, a couple of things I want to mention is this towel right here. A lot of people use paper towels to clean up their brushes, and you can use that and that's fine. I find that the towel is better simply because it stays down there. You don't have to hold it with your hand, and I'll just take, you know, whatever my brush, done with the paint, and I just wipe it down on here and I'm ready to go. It's a lot easier, a lot quicker. I don't have to hold it. It works out very well. You may want to consider that. The other thing is this. It's actually called a maul stick, and you can see at the top it's got a hook up here. The hook hooks onto the top of my easel up here, and it's hands-free. And what this does is it keeps my hand off the painting. If I'm doing any detail, or if I'm just laying down something, I'm not touching the canvas at all, and I still have free range of it. It comes in very handy, especially with small detail. It's a great little tool, and I'll be using it on and off probably here during the lesson. Okay, well, let's get some paint on here. Just grab, again, like I said, I've got about an inch brush here. Use whatever you want to, just to lay down. We're just going to lay down some paint first. Grab a little bit of your medium, either the formula I mentioned early in the program, or just a regular medium will be fine. Grab a little bit of that on your paintbrush, and just start up. We'll start off with the medium gray in here. We have 3 different shades. Start off with the gray, just start putting that in. Medium. Just get it fairly fluid up here. You don't want it real loose so you're seeing through the canvas, but you don't want it real thick either. But if it's too thick, then it's going to be hard to move. You want it pretty fluid. Now we're going to start going into the blue. So grab a little bit of the same gray and grab a little bit of that blue. See how it's really dark blue? Grab a little bit more gray. We want a subtle branch of gray from here, so it goes from gray down to blue. See a little too much blue, grab gray. Just down like that. Curve the whole canvas up so you don't see any of the white of the canvas. I want a little bit more blue. You want to start darkening it down. That. Keep grabbing a little bit of that medium in there to make it nice and fluid. Make sure you cover the whole canvas. You don't want any white spots. All grab some of this and just grab some of that darker blue. should look like that, just so we have graduations or start to go down. How to do it, I would darken this up a little bit more on the bottom, give it a little bit more depth. So grab some of that blue, like that, and just a little bit of black, just to get a little darker shade down here. Just like that. What you can see happening here, right now it looks like a mess, but what you can see happening is it's starting to go from the dark up to the light into the gray. Once we start smoothing that and start putting things down, that will look a lot more like, give you a lot more depth that way. You know, everything up in the front should be darker, everything in the back should be more of a gray and light. And that'll give you a lot of feeling of depth that you'll see in the painting. That's the key part, is to start off that way in your background. Okay, next we're going to grab our big smoothing brush, just pure bristle. Like I say, I'm using about a 3-inch. You can use whatever you're comfortable with, but you just need something that's big, and you need it to be dry so that it'll smooth out very well. And just start up at your top part and just start smoothing it out. Make sure you're covering the whole canvas up. If you see any white spots, make sure you hit that when it's all full of paint. You don't want any canvas showing through. And start grabbing some color. And you see I'm just going back and forth. I'm mixing this color and that color together. I'm not painting anymore. I'm not mixing a separate color in here and painting on here. I'm just mixing what paint's already on the canvas. Just back and forth. That. Good. Now you're just going to start to streak up there. Clean your brush off. You want to keep it as dry as possible when you're smoothing this. And then we just start going back and forth. Again, you hit some this way, some that way. And what that will do is it'll just smooth everything out. And you're just mixing the colors on top of the canvas right now, what you're doing. Just stay in one area here until you get this settled. Once you have this pretty much what you want, then move down to the next darker color. Because if you start going down too dark and you come back up with the dirty brush, you're going to bring this dark color up on your white, and it's going to ruin the whole effect. So you want to work with one area, get that smoothed out, then work to the next one, smooth that, and keep going down. Next one. Every now and then just dry your brush off, get all that paint off there. You're just moving the paint that's on the canvas, I'm just moving it around. That's what I'm doing. Done with that area, and start moving down to the next area. Okay, first thing we're going to do is grab a the final part. keep taking your brush and getting the excess paint off of that so you never bring all that dark back up. You'll be fighting it forever. Get it as clean as possible, but make sure you don't dip it into the mineral spirits when you're trying to get the paint off. But if you do, then you're getting a wet brush and you're going to start taking off paint rather than just mixing it on top. So try to get it as clean as you can, but don't get it wet. Just one of the background. So now we've got to basically smooth out from the light part down to the dark part, which will start giving a head start on the depth that we're looking for when painting this piece. Okay, put that brush aside. And the next brush we're going to take is we're going to use the rat brush. Now again, like I said, all this is just a regular brush. You just take a razor blade and you just chop up the edges so that they're kind of ratty and rugged looking. Take this brush, we're going to start putting in some clouds. A little bit of a formula. We don't want bright white. Again, everything in the distance should be more on the grayish and mid-tone gray level. That'll keep everything in the distance. You start putting anything dark or anything real bright, and you start bringing it forward, and you lose the depth there. So now that we're just going to start in the background, we're going to work our way forward. In the background, you want to keep it in the grays. So what you do is you just get a little bit of your medium, mix it in with a light gray, not a white, but a light gray. Get some on the brush so you don't want too much on, a little bit. And with the rat brush, what you're going to do is instead of painting, you're not going to be painting, you're going to be pushing. When you're pushing that, the bristles will start spreading out and they'll make their own clouds that way. You'll see what I'm talking about. Just take it and just start pushing it like that. See how it's starting to make its own cloud? Maybe a little bit whiter on that end. Yeah, you don't want to go white, you want to keep the gray, but maybe we should go just a little bit lighter gray just to get some cloud formation. See how I'm just pushing it and letting the bristles just do their own thing. Just make it a little bit, whatever kind of cloud that you want. And just let it randomly hit here and there. So when you're pushing that, it's getting that fluffiness going already. You already have to start the cloud part going. Sometimes you make a smaller, a thicker part like this, and sometimes there's a little edge of it. Maybe some more over here. This side. Once we got that in, then come back with our big brush again. Try to clean it off as much as possible. And then very lightly go over the cloud. You'll see how it'll start softening the cloud area. You'll see how you can start getting hair off. You can see how it's already starting to take the shape of a cloud. And really the paintbrush, the rat brush, actually did that for me. I didn't sit there and try to do every little line. That bristle spreading out made that free form, almost abstract cloud look. And all I'm doing is smoothing it out. Again, I'm just barely hitting it. You don't hit it hard. If you hit it hard, you'll start taking it out. So you want to go just very lightly with that. And if it's an area you need to take more out, if you need to smooth it out, just stay in that one area. And the more you stay in that area, again, you're mixing paint, it'll blend it right out. So again, it's always better to go real soft, and then you can always just go harder if you want to. If you hit it too hard, too quick, you take all your detail that you just put in out. So, just want to put it on here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is going to start putting in our background wave. We're going to have a wave in the background and a couple more up front here. You can use either a flat brush or a wrap brush. I like the wrap brush because I get a little bit, with the way that I've got this cut with the point here, I can actually draw it in a little bit better to see what I've got. I'm going to take that darker gray now. And I'm going to start putting in a wave. We just take it, just kind of draw where we want the wave to go. Take away this area here. Come back down to this line right up here. Right now we're just going to try to just outline the wave. Maybe make it a little bit higher. And fill in the area that we drew out here. There's our wave. And all we're doing is just filling in the wave right now. And take a smaller brush, same thing as that we were using a dry brush like we did with the big one, only this is the smaller one so we can get into smaller areas. Make sure this is dry. And just start taking down from the part. We're going to start fading it into the bottom area here. Just leave the darker part up top, start blending it down here. Clean your brushes off again. Whenever you're using smoothing this out with your smoothing brushes, try to get them as clean as possible from any excess paint that's on there. And just lightly go over it. You don't want to hit too much, just a little bit, just to get a smooth effect on here. Just so it actually starts blending into that background color right at the bottom. Leave the top sharp like that, because that's where you want the wave to be sharp up there, and it blends into the water that's moving over. A little bit. Clean your brush off before you start smoothing it. Get it as smooth as you can. We may want to put in a horizon up there, and if we do, again, we want this wave to be a little bit further, closer to us, so it's a little bit darker. Take your knife, take that darker gray, and just lighten it up a little bit. We don't want it quite that light. We want it a little bit lighter than that big wave we're making right now. grab a little bit of that, medium with it. You don't want too much on here. We're just going to make a kind of a horizon with some waves back here. Maybe we'll go up to this area here. This distant waves kind of thing. Just kind of draw with your brush. You know, you can do a thin line and then push a little pressure, get a little bit more, and that makes kind of the wave you want to. We're having kind of a rough sea back here, so it doesn't have to be a perfectly straight horizon. The wave's going to be back and forth with it. Something like that, so the white waves back there. And you smooth it out just a hair with your smoothing brush. Kind of go with the way that the water is flowing, which is you're looking at it kind of this way. So when you're smoothing, you don't have to go too much this way. Just kind of smooth it out, just like the waves were actually rolling. Don't hit it too hard. You can always just stay there and take your time in one area if you want to work more of it out. You don't want to lose the detail. If you get it too hard, you'll just blend it all right out of it. And the next thing we're going to do is start putting in the foam on this wave. And again, use the rat brush when it's chopped up. Pretty good. And again, we're going to take some white, just a little bit of gray. We want it fairly white. We don't want to start white so we don't lose our depth on here. Mix it up next to the white. Make sure it's just a little bit darker than the actual bright white. Now we're going to start putting in our foam. Grab a little bit of your medium. Grab a little bit of the new white that we just made up. There's a little bit of gray in it. And now you're going to start putting in your foam. These are going to be, you follow your wave. If I got a wave here, well, I want to put the foam around it. I don't want to go right over top with the dark part because that's where the wave is showing up, otherwise it will cover up what I just did. So you move your foam and then maybe come up a little bit on top here, break it in that way, come up again. Now it's starting to look like those waves breaking up there. Again, these are in a distance so we don't have to worry too much about detail. But you want to make it look a little bit like a wave. Just real lightly, just touch it. Up a little bit. Like breaking out all of it perfectly straight. Go up a little bit, down, just like that. Very way through that. going to keep working that till you get up to the big wave we made here. That one kind of leave it alone when you get up to this area. We're going to start putting foam onto that one. Same on this side. Just kind of draw it in with the tip of your brush. Make sure you don't hit that front like you got. Just something so it's starting to look like what is back there. Real rough, don't worry too much about the detail. It's in the distance, I'm not worried about that. Clean off your smoothing brush. Make sure you don't put it in the mineral spirits to clean it off. Just get it cleaned off with a paper towel, or a towel like I have here, just so that you have the paint off the edges here. It's fairly clean. Again, just lightly go over that, just a little bit, just to knock it down there. Just to smooth it out. And that's our background for sky. Okay, now for the big wave coming up, now we're going to start paying attention to the real detail onto the waves. Now each one of these waves we're putting in, they're going to be focal points. We want to make sure the detail is right on this. Begin with your red brush. Grab a little bit of that color. You're still in the background there. With the actual wave, come up a little bit. You're going to push in a little bit down there. You get a little break over the wave. Again, just using the tip, we're just kind of drawing what we want right now, seeing what kind of form we want going there. Maybe from this area, you want this whole thing just crash right down. So we got one big wave just coming up here, and it's going to be breaking off over here. Kind of follow that line from this one here. We come up, and it's just going to break down. This will be the edge of our foam. So just give a little bit the edge, maybe like that. Again, if you notice when I'm painting, I'm not painting with this brush. I'm always pushing it. I'll do wrist movements with it, but it's pushing the brush. And that gives me a little details in here. When you start smoothing that out, it's all of a sudden it looks like you spent a lot of time with all the detail, but the brush actually does the work. The whole key to this is don't paint with it, push it. Here. Great. This one maybe the foam will be up here, and this whole thing will break down. So we just got it. Alright, now we've got it pretty much drawn how we want the wave to look. Now we're going to start shaping the foam itself, now that we have the outlines drawn in. So come up here with, when I'm doing this, see how my wrist is always going into a circular motion? Again, it's pushing it, but it's also wiggling it down. This whole thing is a free form. It's very abstract. There's no real straight lines to it. There's the paintbrush. Now we're just going to start putting all there. Just work with the top part. Don't hit everything all at once. Don't make one big blob of it. Break it up a little bit here. That's how foam works. It's not one continuous ball. We don't want to take all that blue out because we want some texture in there. Okay, now we're going to go on the bottom side here. Maybe we're going to bring that part up that way. All the way back up to where we started out there. That's where it's breaking right there. Now you can see what's happening here. It's because we didn't just put a big blob down. So we actually have form now. You have the darker area, okay, which is the background blue. We just hit the lighter areas. And it's actually right now it's starting to take the form of foam even before we're hitting it. Well, let's do this one first. And you can see where we're going with this. So you know how to do this one the same way. Now that we have kind of the form we want, again, take your smoothing brush and you follow the form of the foam. What we're saying this wave is doing, we're saying this wave is coming up like this, and this foam is breaking over this way. So if it's breaking this way, you're smoothing it this way. Don't just smooth it back and forth this way, because it's not breaking this way. It's breaking that way. So follow the flow of your foam. So now we're going to take it again very lightly. We're going to be hitting it going this way. That's how our foam is breaking. That's a little bit. Just getting it smoothed out. Everything's going to curve like this. Once you get the form that you want, you got it down. Then you want to smooth it all out because foam is very smooth that way. Now we can go back and forth and hit it this way because we're just softening it. We're not changing the shape of it. Now we got the shape we want. Again, when you're hitting that, very light, I mean just barely touch it because you'll knock the detail out if you hit it too heavy. Just going over this just to smooth it out so it looks like soft foam there. And I mean, I'm just barely touching this just to get it smoothed out. If there's certain areas like in here, this looks a little too light, you want to darken it, just hit those a little heavier. Or you can just stay right there and just take it completely out if you want. Whatever you want to do with that. Try not to mess up with the area you already started, if you like it. Clean it off. And now we'll go back and we're going to finish the rest of the foam up the same kind of way that this is starting. Grab a little bit of that real light gray. And now we're going to say we have, okay, this gun's coming up here, we're going to say we have a little break here and that's all. And we have big breaks down here. Again, the same thing. Just take it, just make a little break for us. Again, it's going to break this way. Give it the head start there. And just barely touch it just until you get what you want. And every time you're coming back to it, clean your brush off again because as you're hitting it, you're grabbing paint on the end of this. And if you get too much paint on here, you're going to be throwing paint on rather than smoothing it out. So you want this as dry as possible. Yeah, just soften it down. And you see how that's starting to look like foam already? There's not much work to it. The brushes actually do the work. All you're doing is guiding it where you want. Now we're going to take this and maybe we're going to break this one coming out this way. Come up here with the headline. Maybe we'll just break it down. Here. Start. And again, I'm pushing the brush, making the brush do the work. See the detail the brush made all that. I'm just guiding it where I want it to go. The brush is actually doing the work here. down. Very lightly touch it. Don't lose all the detail you just put in. Some area you want to be blurred out more, then just stay there and just blur it out like that. Other areas just leave it alone and keep the detail. Again, and then just get this. Get a certain area like that, looks odd, then you just come in here and you just hit that area on your back. Okay, we're going to make a big splash here, like this wave came down and just crashed and come up. And again, it's the same thing. We're going to use the red brush and let it do its work. Just take it, but now we're going to take it, instead of just drawing it, we're going to take it and push it heavy. We want a big splash going here. So we're going to take this, maybe just push it really up to that top up there. There we go. More. Here. A big splash just in there. A lot of fun. And then the foam comes down, so maybe come down. So right here. Again, I'm pushing. I'm not painting with this brush. And just take your smoothing brush, just smooth that whole area out. And now this is crashing down here and it's throwing foam up, so my arm is going to be going this way as I'm getting the shape of this. It looks like I'm hitting it hard, but I'm barely touching it. I'm just, again, moving the paint that's on there. Barely touching it. If there's a certain area like here, I wanted the foam to come over and I'm getting some of that wave coming through and I don't want that, then I just hit that harder. Just soon you take all this out. And you're just blending all that in. There's one solid piece that looks like foam. You're sculpting with this brush rather than painting with it. You're using your smoothing tool. You're actually, the paint's already down here and you're just forming it and moving it how you want it. It's like sculpting. Smooth it all out. And now we got our first wave breaking back there. Before we put our next wave up here, we're just going to throw some foam down in here and then we'll start throwing in that big wave. Again, kind of like we did up here, but a little bit more detail because it's coming more forward. We want a little sharper detail, a little more defined. So now we do this wave here. Just a little. Just give it some definition. Don't worry too much about real fine detail. We'll do that once the painting is dry. Want a little bit. Again, if there's something that you're seeing, let your imagination go away with it. There's something you're seeing here, and it's like, oh, it'd be nice if there was just a little break over here. Just hit that. Just hit that right up in here. Just hit that a little bit. Bring it down there. That little break. Let me just take the smoothing brush one more time and just smooth all this out. Yeah, just hitting it just so you don't see a whole lot of those brush strokes and make it look kind of ugly this way here. It looks like it's all part of that small, that soft foam that's happening. One a little bit more. Use this as a scope. Now we got our first wave done. Okay, now we're going to start putting in our main wave that's coming up front here. So grab a little bit of the formula. Now we're going to grab this blue that's over here. And do the same thing. We're going to first draw in where we want our wave to go. So we'll start up right about here. Let's say that'd be the bottom of this wave here. Maybe we'll come up, maybe up to this area here. Have a big brick wave this way. Grab a black brush, just kind of fill in. Stop it. We don't want to go too far up top. We're going to start making this see-through green. So we're take off your brush and let's grab some of that green. Let's put the formula, green here. I'm going to come up with the top of the wave here. We're going to start putting in that green. Just grabbing, just taking the very top of this and just start moving it down. And grab our smoothing brush again. Make sure it's dry. And again, start from your light and just start grabbing a little bit of it, just blending. Now don't go on the outside of it, just stay on the inside, just blending inside this way. Just short little strokes. Just grabbing a little bit, just blending it down. Point it here. I'll start blending it into the color that's right here. Brush. I'm going to come back in and we'll smooth it off some more. We don't want any of that dark color that we have back into the green. We want to keep that fairly light. Again, come back and smooth it in. Great color. Just so we have a blending of from that green down to the blue. Start smoothing it out as smooth as possible. Again, we're just working right inside the inside of that wave, not going outside. Just go back and forth, just kind of get the colors to blend. We have that smoothed out, and we start putting in the foam. Clean out the wrap brush we just laid down the dark color with. You don't put any dark color, put in the foam, which is that lighter white. This time we're still going to stay on the darker side because we're not going to put in the highlights, the real bright white. So we're going to go down to that color gray. Actually, let's mix some of that lighter gray and a little bit of this blue here. A little bit of the ultra gray. This gives a little purplish tint. That, and we start putting in the foam. Here we're going to have this. Maybe we'll have it spraying up into here. Go here, back up again. Brush. There. Just drawing in the outline. Grab the other side. More down. Come up here, just a little bit. Touching just real fine up top there. Just bring it. This is going to come this way, so we're dragging it back up a little bit that way. This one will be a lot of fun. Just let your imagination go. Whatever you see it, sometimes you look at it and say, oh, it needs this, it needs that. Just grab a little bit of that. And this is the darker side of the foam. We're going to come in with the white, highlight that, and make it look really, really sharp. Right now we're just getting the basic outline. Before we start smoothing this out, we want to come in and put a little bit of yellow up it so that when the wave comes up, it's real thin up top, so much light shines through it and gives that nice color, that yellowish kind of green. Grab a little bit of this yellow and grab it up at the top here. I'm just going to start mixing it in with the green that's already there. Don't go outside the wave, just stay right inside the outline of the wave that you have. Just start moving down slowly, just start picking up that flow and start bringing it to normal. Get your smoothing brush out. I'm going to do this first. The inside of the wave before we start smoothing out the foam. That, just barely grab that. Again, start with your lighter color and start working your way back down. Starting to get the color up there. Start with the light shining in. Brush, now let's start working. Again, the same principle as what we did back here. Just hit it softly, get the shape of it, and we come back and we smooth it all out. That way. Here. Out. Grab this one here. That. Again, if you hit it real light, see the little detail I've got going in here? I don't want to lose that, so I just hit it very lightly just so it smooths it out so it looks like it's moving. If you don't want to hit it too hard, I get rid of all this little detail that I like in here. Smooth it out. Again, if there's an area like in here where I want more smoothing, then I just stay in that area. The area that you want to keep the detail, you just don't hit. Same thing on this side here. Just like see what it looks like. You can just lightly go over all of it, just real small, just to smooth out the edges. Just to make all that foam nice and soft. And now we're going to start highlighting this with the white. We've already got this color right down here, which is our like the foam that's in the shadow. Now we're going to come up and hit the highlights where the light's going to be. Take a little bit of that white, just a little bit of that. Now our brush, make sure we have that color in here. Grab a little bit of medium, grab some of this color. Now we're going to start putting on the highlights on the foam. Just a little bit here. On this here, just hit the top edge of it, a little radically. You don't want a straight line, just a little bit. You don't want too much up here. Just hitting the highlight edge, just like the highlights, just hitting the top that way. Just hitting the top for right now. Here, which is a little thicker when you come in a little bit. Same other side. Just kind of follow the outline. Again, we have thicker foam here, and we can come in a little bit thicker on the edge. Okay, now the next thing we want to do before we start seeing how much we want to pull down is follow, just not to the end, but follow a little bit of this edge that's over here. You'll see what I'm talking about. Just take it, I can follow the edge here, and I just come down a little bit with this. Don't put too much on here. Don't go down to the end. That's where the foam's breaking over. It's going to be dark down here. Just on the top part where it's here. Don't go all the way down to the end, just like that. And on this side, we hit this over here. Just so the light's coming over and it's just hitting that edge part. Here, just follow a little bit of it. Break it off right back there. Here. This area. Here. Yeah, this where it's breaking down, it's getting into the shadow. And now when you look at it, then you can start taking form. Say, okay, I like this, maybe it should have a little bit more here. Just maybe the way you come up a little bit on that side. Just throw a little bit. Don't use much, just a little at a time. Because you can always add more, which is going to be hard to take it out if you get too much light in. This here. Just kind of tickling a little bit. Here with this more foam, maybe get a little bit more of that white area. Breaks that way. Again, take your smoothing brush, make sure it's dry, no paint on the edges. And again, very lightly, because we've got a lot of paint on here now, and we have a lot of detail that we like. So we just want to lightly hit that, so we don't want to lose too much detail, we just want to smooth it out so it's a nice smooth foam coming over. Again, just barely lightly hit that. See how it's starting to smooth out. If some spot you don't like the detail that's in there, you just stay there longer and just get that little bit of detail out. The area you really like, you just hit it lightly and stay away from it. What you're doing is just smoothing it down. Smooth. You just barely, I mean, like I say, I'm just barely touching this. Just want to knock it back. Let it blend in a little bit, but you don't want to lose your detail. Always keep cleaning off your brush. You don't want to get paint, throw paint back on it. What you're doing now is you're just smoothing what's already there. Like I say, what you're doing with this brush is you're just sculpting. At this point, you're not painting with this brush, it's just sculpting what's already down there. Just see what you want in, what needs to be blurred a little bit more, what details you like, you leave it alone. Other ones like this here, you need to be blurred a little more. Just grab a little bit, just bring it down, see how it's blurring it. Leave that alone. Look at that one going pretty good. What we're going to do on this side here, we're going to have a wave breaking, but we're going to see the top of the wave. This one here, we're looking at underneath it. This one, we're going to see the top of the wave break down. It's done a little differently. Clean off your brush. Now we're going to take that darker blue, Get a little bit of medium. Take that darker blue here. Now we're going to say, okay, maybe this wave is breaking straight out this way. So come over here and we'll go this way. Take this, just start breaking this. Brush again. Now we're going to take the the foam part that's down here. We're going to start throwing in that foam. So we're going to grab the darker foam, but we start with that. Don't start with the lighter. That's a highlight. Grab this color that we used up here. That was the first color that we put in. We're going to take this. Now we're going to start making foams down here. A lot of foam on this one. Just crashing right down onto the wave. Just coming a little bit this way. And now we're going to start bringing this lighter part into the darker part, just kind of like that. So we get a little bit. And always keep, it's breaking this way, kind of keep your strokes when you're blending on the same way that this is going. Start blending it together a little bit. Take our smoothing brush and smooth that out. Just grab a little bit of this very lightly. Keep in mind, like all the little detail down here, which you want to keep. Don't get that too much, like that detail. It's less detail you have to put in later on. Just get it smoothed out. Now we're going to do something a little different. Take your rat brush, clean it out. A little bit of the medium or formula. And now we're going to take the straight white. Straight white. I'm going to get some on our brush here. Lay just a thin line right where the dark part is. We're going to lay a thin line of that white. Just lay it down. So I'm not painting it, dabbing it on. Put some paint on. Need more paint, grab it. Break it up every now and then. Get that. You want some paint up there. You don't want it real thin this time. You want even a couple of globs, not real thick. Just lightly a light globs would be great on there. We're going to knock that down. We need some paint to be able to sit there and knock down. Okay, once we have that on there, now grab your fan brush And again, you have to know what motion you're going with this. Right now, we're saying this wave is breaking this way. If it's breaking that way, we go a different direction. But right now, we're going to say this wave is going to be curving on this way. So with our fan brush, we're going to knock the white coming all the way down in the direction we're saying this wave is coming. So you just grab that white, just a little bit above it, and just pull it just like that. Clean it off. You gotta clean this off because you grabbed some of that darker with this one. Do the same thing again. Put this one in the same direction. And again, over here, just follow it all the way through. Now you've got a wave breaking over there. We'll finish this off with the foam up here, probably tomorrow when this whole thing dries. But right now we've got a good flow coming on top. We'll start putting the foam in, we'll start chasing it back a little bit. You'll see it'll look just like it's actually breaking right over the rocks. Right now we want to put in the highlights on this foam like we did the rest of it. Clean out your rat brush. Grab not the white this time, we just want the white on that part. We want the highlight of the foam, which is that next shade right here. It's not the real bright white, it's the next shade down. And now, I'll get some of the foam tip here. Like this wave is kind of in front of the other one. Remember, when you're using the rat brush, you never paint with it. You're not painting with it, you're pushing it, dabbing with it. It's actually more of a sculpting brush than it is actually a paintbrush. Doing that, see the nice little details you're getting already. Knock it back. Paintbrush does all the work. Take your smoothing brush and smooth it all out. When you're smoothing out, don't hit this top part up here. Keep that nice and all those little fine lines you went in there. You start taking that out and you'll lose the effect of that wave actually breaking over. You just want to hit the foam that's down here. Yeah, same thing as we did before. Just very lightly hit it. And the detail that you like in there, leave that alone. If there's areas that need to be smoothed a little bit, just stay in that area and smooth a little bit more. Off every now and then because you pick up paint on here. You want it dry. This smoothing brush to be dry. Ready? So now what we're going to do is we have one wave that's coming up here, we have another one that's breaking this way. We're going to throw a big wave in here, just rushing over the rocks and crashing right down. So it'll be kind of like this, a little different, but it's going to be a big one coming right here, kind of like splashing right in front of you. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just lay some of the foam down here. So grab a little bit of darker blue, a little bit of the purple. We mixed this color over here with some of the white. Got this color here. a little bit of the ultramarine and white. I'm going to throw in some foam down here this way, just coming over and breaking it. We kind of draw just a little outline of maybe where we want it to break. Some rocks up here, so we'll put a foam this way, break it down. Here. General idea where we're going. Take some of your foam, and now we're just going to just put in some heavy foam. This is a big breaker from the red foam. Again, if you're watching how I'm painting this, I'm not painting it, I'm pushing it, always pushing it. This one. Good. So it's kind of like falling off right here. See, I'm just pushing this brush. You don't hang it, didn't push it. When you're pushing that, that lets those bristles just kind of make their own move. And take our smoothing brush, smooth this area out. You can just lightly hit it. If there's areas you want to blend more, just put a little more pressure or stay in that area and blend it more. Keep cleaning out your brush and you have it nice and soft. Softening out. what we're going to do is we have to put in, where the foam is like, when it's rushing like this, the foam is like real streaky. Put that in correctly, we're going to do that once the painting is dry. So right now, this is about all that we're going to do with this. Here we put in a little bit of highlights on the foam here, a little break, just like we did in the highlights here. The actual streaks, we're going to have a foam coming up here. All that's going to be done tomorrow. But right now, let's put in a little bit of highlights on here, just to give a little bit more form. Throw in a couple of rocks, just basically lay them in, and we'll put the detail on that tomorrow too. So right now, let's just highlight these foam pieces down here. Not too much, we can add more of that tomorrow too. They really don't have the full form of it yet. A little lighter. Gray. Don't come all the way down here because we're going to have the wave breaking here, so a lot of that shadow is going to be here, and we'll be picking up the light until it's actually back up here. So we'll come up with just some highlight here. That. Here. Like that, just like it's looking like this shadow over here that just breaks up and comes up here. That's where you see the highlight. Smooth that down using your smoothing brush. Make sure you have that nice and dry. All you want to do at this point is just move the paint that's on it. You don't want to put any paint down. Make sure it's clean. When you're getting that smooth, and you're getting that smooth, it's looking more like foam rather than like this, where it's just all rugged. That looks painted on. This looks like an actual photograph of foam. And that's what we want. And if you want to, actually, you can even take your bigger brush. On bigger areas like this, take your bigger brush, make sure that it's also nice and cleaned off. I don't want to leave any paint or anything like sticking out there. You can take that, and again, just lightly hit it, because you're hitting a larger area. The only reason I wanted to use the smaller one was because we're going into small little details and areas where it's blending, rather than cutting a whole big area. Like in here, we would have hit this part, we're going to knock that out. And in a big area like this, use your bigger one, that's fine too. Again, same principle, just very lightly hit it, and you can see how it's starting to turn into foam, rather than just blotches of paint coming out. Again, if there's an area that you want to hit more, than just stay in that area and you blend it out and smooth it out even more. Everything is very lightly touched. Everything is touched with this brush. The lighter, the better. a little head start there. We can add more highlights as we go tomorrow. I'll show you how to do that. Right now, let's just take, I'm just going to use about a 1/2 inch brush here. Just anything, just we're going to lay in some rocks. So we're going to grab that brown, a little bit of medium, grab some of the brown. We'll just figure, put a rock up in this area. Let's make that a little darker. Take some of that. It's black. Darken it down. And again, always use a little bit of your main color just to keep everything uniform. Still gonna get that brown in there. Just a little bit of that. Just a little darker. Medium. So this just come in here. Maybe come up a little bit higher here. Rugged rocks as well. Good pan. Worry too much about detail at this point. We just want to get the basic color of the form down here. Big rock cliff on there. And we'll put it back here. Here. What I would do is just so that the rocks actually have the water when it gets real thin over the rocks. You see a little bit of the rock and a little bit of the water. I'll just grab some of the medium and where the bottom edges are. Just kind of tape them off a little bit so you're mixing the colors. Now That way when we start throwing our foam back on, it'll look like you're seeing through part of the rock. So it blends in. Blending in, start putting the foam line up here, look like you're seeing through part of that water into the rock. Okay. And tomorrow what we're going to do is we'll put in the streak of foam that comes across here. We need to do that when it's dry. We'll start throwing in the foam that's coming up here from this wave breaking, and you'll see how that goes in front of that lighter area. Throwing some little foam back in here, and just highlight little areas up here and there, getting a little glitter possibly back and forth, and we'll have it all finished up. So anyhow, that's our basic laydown, and we'll wait for that to dry. We'll get back again tomorrow.